Hello and welcome to my channel. Well, this is kind of an update on that battery tester and that battery. The blue battery that I thought the tester was wrong, but here's what I got on the unknown. Okay? Unknown 18650. Maximum charge volt went up to 4.16. Time from charge to discharge to charge again, 30 minutes. That right there is an indicator that something's wrong, because for an 18650 with at least 2000 milliamps, it'd take longer than that. The battery capacity at the end was 24 milliamps, which is about right for the way it charged, because that indicator, it's got like 3 little squares. This is on its little charge thing. And they've got little arrows, like this one is, I think, up, and this one is down, and I don't know, this is up. Anyways, when it's charging, this one's blinking, and it's going through capacity. When it goes through a discharge, this one blinks, and then when it goes through another one, excuse me, it blinks again. Well, all right. So when the unknown battery got in there, it needed a little bit of a charge. It was like, I think it was around like 90%, right? And it didn't take it very long to get up to the full charge. And then it started going through the discharge thing. Well, I looked at it and I thought, well, if it was already fairly high capacity, and it only took, it tells you how many milliamps it's reading at the time into the battery capacity, and it only said like 7, or it was a really low number. I thought, well, if it's a low charge and to top it off, it don't take that many milliamps, that's not really telling you a whole lot. When it went to discharge, man, the battery capacity it finally got up to 100%, and like I said, 4.16 volts, which most of these, when they're charging, especially hooked up to a charger, will at least achieve 4.2 volts. So that kind of right there was an indicator that there's something weird. It met its 100% capacity at less than the rated upper voltage that the charger would do. The second thing that alarmed me, or it gave me an indicator, was when it went to discharge, man, did it discharge quickly. It went from full capacity to 0 pretty quick. Like I said, this whole cycle, from starting from 90% up to charging it, to discharging it, to charging it back up, 30 minutes. 30 minutes of elapsed time. So I thought, wow. And its final reading, like I said, was 0.0024 milliamps. So I thought, all right, this is pretty much what I got the last time I charged this, battery through this discharge thing. What's another way to test it? So I got the Baton Olight SR2 Baton 2 out. I put the battery in there. I put it in turbo, which it didn't seem like it was very turbo when I did it. And I set it up on the mantelpiece of the fireplace, and I sat back down. This thing did not overheat. The ambient temperature was like 73 degrees in here, Fahrenheit, and it got up to 76 when I checked it on the temperature here, so it barely went above that. So it's not shutting down due to temperature. The light output, I was kind of, like glanced at, because I had it aiming up at the ceiling, so I didn't have to look at this. I could just glance over it, look at the intensity of the spot on the ceiling. And pretty quickly it dimmed down, So after an hour, there was a noticeable difference. I checked the function of the light, I tried to turbo it, and it would only go 2 modes. A bright, fairly low bright. I don't have a lumen meter, so I can't tell you how bright that was. I can estimate. It was less than 15 lumens. And then it dropped down to something lower. So I just left it on. I looked at that. you know, the light was, maybe you can see it in here. Let me turn this light off. The light was red on here. You can see that red there. Supposedly when this thing gets to, on some lights, if it gets blinking red, it's really getting bad. What I'm trying to do is I'm going to run this down to discharge, but the problem is, excuse me, the problem is these lights can go a long time on a moonlight mode. So what we have is a battery that, I'm going to check its voltage later on, but a battery that went from 4.16 volts to down really far. Like I said, it would only do 2. After 2 hours, it's only got this one mode. You can double click it all you want, it ain't going to do anything. It's a little bit brighter than moonlight. So the thing that I'm surprised about, I'm learning about this, is a 24 milliamp battery should not last very long. But because it's LEDs and because they step down as they lose a voltage, you know, the output goes down, the current draw goes down too. So if it's a small one, small capacity battery, that's understandable. Now, let me tell you a little bit of history about that battery. I found it at work, and from at work there was a guy that would sell these for $5, and he said he would get them from a gas station. So you already know, an 18650 battery with a little charge case and all this other stuff. I don't remember how many milliamps. I think they were trying to sell it like 5,000 or something like that. You can do tricks, right? You can do tricks with batteries. Now, one of two things could have happened. Either this thing was a fully, you know, rated battery and everything, and it just got discharged too low too many times. The battery case thing didn't have a decent protection circuit in it. Or this is a fake battery. And what they do with fake batteries is they can take a little small 18350 or so and stick it in there and fill the rest up with sand or something else and just run a negative here to a positive up here. And then the weight and everything, hey, feels like it's a decent battery, you know, and it feels like it's all right. You don't know what's going on underneath this wrap. It's either that or, like I said, it was discharged. Because if you discharge a battery, a lithium-ion battery, normally their operating voltage is 3.7 volts. And if you discharge it below like 2.5 volts or something like that, you can damage the battery. See, now it won't even come on. Let me make sure. Oh, I did put it in wrong. You can damage the battery permanently. It changes the chemistry inside the battery, so it won't hold as much, or it'll just shorten its lifespan considerably. So I don't know the history of the battery before. See, it comes on as red. I don't know the history of the battery before. It won't do turbo. I hold it down. It doesn't step mode. You get one mode. Let's see if it does a moonlight. So yeah, it'll do it. It'll still do a moonlight. Let me turn this light off. It'll still do a moonlight. So you get one mode after that. So that's interesting. As the voltage starts dropping, you still have somewhat usable light. I wouldn't want to be trying to walk a trail or anything like that. But even if you get a crappy battery, I'm surprised you're getting this much time out of it. That's why I said I'm shortening it, because currently on this battery, from just being on, constantly on from the highest mode that it could do, we're approaching 3 hours. I didn't think it would last that long, really, with any amount of light. I thought this thing, you know, it's a really shot battery. Now, that compared to the Workhorse, which it's an 18650 battery. It's written on it that it's 3.7 volts, 3000 milliamps. I started doing this discharge on it. Well, its max charge volt was 4.2 compared to that 4.16. The time from charge to discharge to charge, I started calculating that, all right? And there was an accident, but I'll get to that. The battery capacity of this Workhorse at 30 minutes into the cycle, this battery was still at 71% and at 3.94 volts, and it had 214 milliamps compared to 24 for this whole cycle. So already you can tell that this is a higher capacity battery. The Workhorse was a higher capacity battery than that one. All right, at 1 hour, it was at 66% battery capacity. This is on the discharge thing. It was at 3.91 volts and 475 milliamp hours. All right, some of these things take time, especially the bigger capacity batteries. You're basically discharging at 0.5 amp, and you're just basically having this battery run through a resistor, and drop voltage. That's your load. All right, at 1 hour and 20 minutes, this battery was still at 60% and 3.85 volts, 643 milliamps. Now, I was going to go through the whole thing, let it discharge completely like it's doing. Looking at this, it was going to take another hour and 30 minutes at least, for this thing to discharge. It depends on how batteries aren't always linear in their capacity or bell curve, or sometimes, they'll have a nice smooth drop, and then other times there'll be a significant drop at a certain amount of time, and the voltage goes way down, and it depends on the way this one is set up. I think it drops it down like 2.45 volts or something like that, and then starts the charge up cycle. So I wanted to see what it came up with its final calculation. I'm still doing that, but what happened was I had the charger sitting on the armchair because I wanted to observe it as it was going on, and I got hungry and was going to get up and make a burrito. And when I got up, the charger fell over and the battery fell out of the charging thing. So it wipes that out. It doesn't remember that. When you disconnect it, boom. It says it remembers it. Yeah, it remembers it while it's still plugged in there. But as soon as you pull it out, it wipes it out. So I'm starting it all over again. But I just wanted to give you an update on this and let you know I'm going to still run this one. If it goes into days and stuff, I'm going to give up. But this one I'll run, and I'll give you the final report as to what capacity we come up with. I think it's going to come close to that. See, even if I'd have gotten down to 50%, I could have extrapolated from it, like, hey, at 50% battery capacity, I've got this many volts, mainly this many milliamp hours, you can basically roughly try to, guesstimate and say, all right, it took this long, it made this much milliamps, so just double that, and that's your capacity. But like I said, that's just guessing that that the top of the battery curve capacity is the same as the 50 to 100% capacity runs the same as 50 to 0. No, they don't do that way. And you won't be taking the battery down completely to 0, because like I said, lithiums, that can damage them. So that's the main reason I got that, because with the battery, unlike a gas tank or anything else, where you could shake it or you could put a stick in it or something like that, even with a multimeter, if you read this thing with no load on it, it's going to read like it's a good battery. I mean, it's going to charge. If you put it in a regular charger, it's going to look like it charged up pretty quickly. And you're going to think, all right, this is good to go. And you're going to assume that it's, at least a 2,000 milliamp battery, not a 24. Even a little tiny 16340 or one of those things has got way more capacity than 24 milliamps. So that's why I got that. I want to identify bad batteries, and or I want to identify batteries that are not running at their rated capacity. You know, if this one was, I put on here 0.024. If this one was let's say being sold by something on Amazon, or being sold by, Workhorse's website and everything, you'd want to know if they're selling crap batteries. But like I said, the history of this one was it was a gas station cheapy thing, with overinflated stuff. So you got to expect something shady going on. And like I said, with batteries, they can do that. They can put a tiny little, even a button cell down there. As long as they give you the voltage you want, it'll have like almost no capacity, but it looks like it's got a lot of capacity. And that's why I wanted a tester, was just to make sure that it's legit. So anyways, I'll let you know what this workhorse turns out to be like. And like I said, without a tester and everything, you can do your own test. You can, turn a flashlight on and see how long it runs. It still won't step. It's down to those voltages. I'll measure the voltage. I'll put it in there, what it's at currently at this time, which is, I started it 3 hours ago. So at 3 hours with this low voltage, with this type of battery. Well, let me just get the multimeter out. Because, yeah, there's a lot of these sometimes off the wall, you've never heard of before, batteries being sold at Amazon, and you've never heard of them before. You get them, you don't know if they're any good unless you actually test them and use them. And a lot of people don't have the time and capacity to do all this. All right, so let's get this guy. We're going to put it on 20 volts just to be optimistic, because I think it's probably about 3 volts would be my guess. Somewhere around there. Not much higher than that. Alright. Now it really doesn't matter. Negative or deposit will just read negative something, but we're going to observe polarity anyway, just for the hell of it. .34. Alright, so a lithium-ion battery is rated, even this one, when it was running at 60%, it didn't get down to 3.7, which is the rated, voltage. This one, what we say this was again, 3.3 or something. Now see, it's still enough not to shut the light off. It's still enough to give it some output, but it's not enough volts to give you multiple modes. Switch this polarity around. And it won't give you turbo. It will give you moonlight. It'll go lower than that. If you hold it down, it'll give you moonlight. But as far as like, it used to have, you'd hold it and it would go low, medium, high, low, medium, high. And then you could double click it. Ooh, it'll still do strobe. That's 3 clicks is for strobe. Well, if you wanted to strobe somebody, so, like I said, I'll let this continue running. But, like I said, if you look at the moonlight, low lumen run times on some of these batteries, they're sometimes up to hundreds of hours, or 50 hours, more than a day. So this would have to be a time-lapse thing. I'm going to cut it out as when this light doesn't get any brighter than moonlight, because then moonlight could last for who knows how long. But it's not super bright light for you to see a lot of stuff. Like, here, this looks decent. Like, you can still read maps. You could still, see. You're not going to, I'd say probably like 10 or 15 feet maybe in front of you in a trail or something, but you wouldn't want to be trying to explore anything that's real dark or dangerous, like a cave or cliffs nearby or anything like that. It's still, it's okay. Now, like I said, if this would have been an incandescent bulb, the story would have been over a lot quicker because it would have sucked up the juice and the amps of that thing. Now, an incandescent bulb will run a battery completely out. There's no circuit protection to it, so as long as it can draw juice, it'll suck it out of it till it doesn't have any juice left. Batteries that have protection circuits built in, I'm not sure if this one does. It looks like there's something in here. This may just be a short circuit protection. Now later on, after this is all done, even though this is dangerous and you shouldn't do it, I'm probably going to go outside and put on safety goggles and gloves and everything. But I'm going to take this overwrap apart, I think, and try to take it apart and see. I don't think there's any sand. It feels fairly uniform, but you never know. It could be a fake one. I think it's just a damaged one that had been used before and abused and discharged too many times below its operating voltage. There you go. That's the pitfalls of testing. You don't get to see behind the scenes situations a lot of times because there are accidents that happen in scientific experiments. You're right in the middle of it. You're almost finished. You're taking hours, hour and 20 minutes of this test, and then one screw up, one little bump of the chair, and whee, everything goes down. Yeah, that was my fault for not positioning it there, for positioning in a place that it could fall over. Yeah, it was my fault. I know. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.